Hello, everybody. What is good? What is good? We are live. We are live. What is up? All right. So today, I used to call these Wisdom Wednesdays. They essentially still are. Only difference is that I allow people to email questions to me, and then I process common themes, and then I come back through with an answer so that you can get coaching in a sense to at least one question and get a sense of why that's powerful. And you can also get tools that you can integrate into your life. So you're welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. That's the best way to know when different videos become available. I don't have a set time that I do them. I often do them as inspired. You're guaranteed to get content weekly, but it's really important that you subscribe so that you know when that happens. I know I nerd out with different people, and it means a lot. Content creation, right, is actually work. It's not something that is easy, right? It's something that requires a lot of effort and intention behind the scenes. So make sure that you support your people, whoever those people are that are feeding your soul. All right, so transition. You can see from the title that it is called Stop Buffering. All right. So what I mean by that is that spinning wheel that you see on your computer, we can live in that mode. We can live in buffer mode. And so that was the question. How can I stop buffering? I feel like I have 12 tabs open. I feel like I'm trying to work through every single tab. I actually work with somebody who is like this all the time. She has all the tabs open. It's become a running playful joke that we have. I'm like, close the tabs. Like nobody, I don't care how amazing that you are, nobody is designed to operate with 12 tabs open at one time. We're just not wired for that. That's not how we're wired. The world might train us to show up that way. We might have pressure to show up that way, but that is not how we function at our best. And we can't give our best to all 12 things at one time. We just can't. Okay. So how can I stop buffering? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of practical ways that you can do this. So if you're a note taker, I recommend writing these things down so that you can remember to go back and look at them. That can even be the notes on your phone. So you can go back and forth. All right. So first and foremost, when we have 12 tabs open at once, there's a tendency to want to keep them open, right? To want to be over here, but knowing that we can't fully be over here, but then being over here and then being over here and then being like, where am I in the midst of all these things, right? So what I would say to that is give yourself grace. That's number one. Give yourself grace. This is a big indicator, okay, when we've got 12 tabs open, that we are leaning on our own strength and leaning on our own understanding to do all the things at one time, when really we're being divinely guided, if we're honest, to do this thing, right? It's usually just one thing. We're being led to do one thing and we're not doing that one thing. All right, oftentimes. So give yourself grace. The constant, I need to be here, and oh man, I shouldn't be here, and because I'm here, then this is happening, and it should look like this, but it doesn't, is unnecessary suffering, okay? Let alone when then you go in tabs, there's different distractions and complications that arise because you're not able to operate and influence in those things. You're starting to become infected by your environment. You're starting to let it get to you when you're tired, when you're worn out, when you're stressed, when you're preoccupied, when you've got so much going on. It is really hard to process information. That's why you're buffering, okay? So give yourself grace. Decide, all right, I'm not going to beat myself up. There's grace. Decide that there is grace for this process and that you're open to it. I'm open to divine guidance. I'm open to divine wisdom. I'm open to closing some tabs, to shifting this and to prioritizing what actually matters given what I know right now. Okay. Maybe a day from now I can reevaluate, but right now, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. So number one, give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up. Don't go back and forth, right? The word actually says that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So if you want to be unstable in all of your tabs, keep them open. All right. What you want to do is get clear and focused so that that is a place of alignment. That is a place of clarity. That is a place of power. Okay. And your peace can come back to you from that place also. All right. So invite God into the situation. You're in it. accept that you're in it, but invite God into it so that you can rework it and restructure it. Number one. All right. Number two is when you've got so much going on, and I work with a lot of high performers, so this is common, okay? Whether that's family and business and other business and this business and work and then whatever it is, right? All the things, right? One of the easiest things to not make the list is ourselves, okay? It's kind of like in education, the theater department is the first thing to go. The section that brings you life and entertainment and joy, right? It's gone. It's gone. We don't need creativity. We don't need any of that inner soul work, right? Similar to us, we put off all of our inner work, and that's how we function. Like, it's wild, but we neglect ourselves. So that would be number two, is pay attention that given everything you have going on, you're probably only going to have power pockets of time. All right. That's what I call them. The intention is you got this pocket and it might not seem like enough, but if you bring the right power to that sucker, it can launch you into whatever you need to be doing. So if you utilize your time well, right, these power pockets of time are all about self-care, self-development, whatever it is that you need in those moments. So I'll give you some examples. In these power pockets, again, whether you got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whether you block an hour, wherever you've got them, you've got to show up for them. Non-negotiable. Just like you make other things non-negotiable, you are your greatest investment and you need to be non-negotiable. All right. So what can you do in these power pockets of time? Number one, you can breathe. Radical concept, I know. But breathing is actually what connects us to God, our spirit, right? God is the one that put breath in our lungs, okay? And a lot of times when we're stressed, we stop breathing, right? Like we breathe really shallow. We cut off this part of our body, so we're just in our head. We're not even connected to our heart anymore. And breath brings the flow back. Breath brings the rhythm back. Breath brings presence, okay? And when we're present is when we have power to influence the moment, power to decide and make wise decisions in the moment, power to be available to divine inspiration and information that's available to us. When we're not here, we could be here, but not here because we're mentally somewhere else or we're trying to do all the things, right? When you're actually present, that's when you're empowered, okay? So breath work, many ways to do it, but I recommend having one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and breathe your belly all the way out, right? Like give yourself like a huge bubble, make it out. And then you want to hold it for 3 and then exhale for 3 and do that. And if you do 10 minutes, you'll get blood flow going. You'll get oxygen to your head. You'll feel present. You'll be in the moment. Super powerful. So that's really a great way. Deep breathing. You can Google different practices around that. That's a huge one. Visualization is key, right? It allows us to actually set intentions and to sort of live out a moment before we actually live out a moment. What do you want to happen? What are you? Pray that through, like visualize it and get really, really clear. Set 10 minutes. Those go a long way. Okay. Set timers on your phone, but visualize how you want these different pieces to go so you can show up in them and work them, right? It's like preparing for a speech, for example. The preparation is key. That's where a majority of the work is. And it's so much more than people see. Usually the speech or the talk or the presentation is 15 minutes, but the preparation has been hours, weeks, right? So when you've rehearsed it though, you can show up. You don't need notes. You know how to work the stage. You know all the different tone inflections. You know what to do, right? Same thing with our life. We can visualize it and we can show up in a moment and know what to do. But because we've also lived it, we know how to improvise and adapt if we have to as well. So for example, I used to do two different sports that I absolutely loved. Did several, but these are ones that I absolutely loved, right? So track and field, and then also gymnastics. Both of those required a ton of visualization, right? I'm visualizing myself so much so that I was actually like dreaming it as well in my sleep. I was like, okay, this is my balance beam routine. Here's what I'm going to do, right? Or when I'm running this race, I can see what happens, right? So that when I'm in it, I'm like, okay, I've seen this movie before. I know exactly what to do, right? So we can do that with our life also. How do I want to show up in my life? In all these things, how do I want to show up? Visualization is another great tool. Meditation, okay? Meditation, I do differently now. Do what works for you. I used to, do some yoga and it was all about being aware of our thoughts and releasing thoughts, right? But I needed personally, for me, to transform my mind. We're transformed by the renewing of our mind. So I needed to meditate on the word of God. I needed to discipline my mind and my thought life. I needed to get my beliefs right and my belief systems reworked and rewired, right? So I meditate on the promises of God that are true for my life that maybe I'm not believing right now, right? All things are working for my good. God has good plans for me that are unfolding in perfect ways and perfect timing. I'm always in the right place at the right time, right? And I'm taking those from the word, Jeremiah 29:11, right? Like I'm partnering the word and I'm meditating on it so I get an understanding of it. Okay, what does that look like for me in this situation? And I'm declaring it. I'm speaking that into that situation. I'm using my authority. That's a productive use of my time. I'm literally sending out angel armies to help me out, right? So to me, different kind of meditation, okay? But the word says that we're supposed to meditate on the word day and night. We got to store it up in our hearts so that when we need it, we can use it. So that's another one. Going for a brisk walk, a wog, if you will, a walk jog, whatever you got to do. Movement is great too. Just again, connecting your body to what's going on because sometimes we get so caught up here. Oh, what is another good one that I could give you guys? Music, listening to not like, I know folks usually recommend like rap and hip hop and all the things. I recommend worship music or just soaking music, which means it has no lyrics. And you literally just soak and you let whatever your body needs in that moment. Like you just picture absorbing into your body everything that you need. So that's plenty for you to work from. There you go. So we talked about give yourself grace. We talked about self-care and working power pockets of self-care into your day. Another thing that I would recommend doing is recalibrating. Instead of buffering, recalibrate, which means what do I need to do, right, to align right now to get clear about what's going on. So that could be reworking your schedule, again, so that you can visualize how it's going to play out. That could be having a couple of different phone calls or conversations with folks in your world to know what's going on, to delegate some things to them. That could be working out a plan of what the next few days look like so you can close some of the tabs. If you schedule them out, then you can close the tab. All right, I'm going to deal with this one on this day at this time. I'm going to deal with this over here. That way I'm not trying to do them all at once. I'm going to schedule them out, right? So think about that. That's something you can do. Dun, 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 dun. And then also give yourself permission to do what you need, okay? My high performance people, my doers of the world, high achievers, myself included, right? Make sure that everybody else is good, okay? And make sure that we go above and beyond. However, you've got to give yourself permission to give yourself what you need and to not deal with things that absolutely aren't priorities right now, okay? Because how we do one thing is usually how we do everything. So if we're trying to solve a problem here, suddenly we're looking for all the problems in these other areas and trying to solve all those too. Well, really, maybe it's not the time to do that. Maybe the time is just to center and be present. Okay, so give yourself permission to do what you need to do. Okay, to make yourself a priority and give yourself what you need. All right, and the last thing that I'll say is that a lot of times high achievers, high performance folks, right? Just people that really want to do well are really focused on external, right? Anything that's happening outside of us. How this person is responding, how this thing is landing, how this thing is going, outcomes, everything that's in the external, right? But a lot of that we actually don't have control over, okay? And because there's so much external focus, we learn how to adapt and how to pivot and how to really accommodate outside of us, okay? And again, that's usually at your expense, meaning you spend all of your time doing that you have no time for you, which is necessary, okay? And because you can't give your best that way. Also, we do a lot of good things, but they're not all God things. And the thing that I want to highlight here is that We can be people pleasers or God pleasers, but we cannot be both. You've got to decide. And if you choose to develop your relationship with God, to be led by God, to walk in obedience with God, to humble yourself, to be available for wisdom, to be present, to be empowered from within and live that way, your world will follow. Okay. But it can take some diligence to shift the pattern, to break the pattern of trying to make sure everybody else is good, because it's actually enabling sometimes behavior that's not good. It's perpetuating a pattern that's not healthy. It's sending a message that this is how to show up in the world. So it's really important to be able to recognize it and shift the pattern. What do you want to be, right? Are you most effective when you're just pleasing people? Is that what you're here for? Probably not, right? Inevitably, you will serve many people. That's part of your path, right? But you can only do it when you're actually full and your cup is overflowing. That's how it's intended. You're not meant to give from an empty cup and make sure everybody else is good all the time, right? That's God. God is God. You don't have to play God. Hallelujah, right? So give yourself permission to not have to make sure everybody's good and fix things around you, and recognize, what am I actually called to do? When am I of my highest good and highest service of the world? How can I actually recalibrate so that I can show up differently in my world and the other things can adjust? All right. I like to remind myself that God cares for the people in my world more than I ever could. He's God, right? God has good plans for those people just like he does for me. But it's most important that I connect with God about what his plans are for me right now. What his heart is, that I can walk those out. Otherwise, I'm going to get caught up in a lot of distractions and feel totally burned out and become ineffective and really work against myself in a lot of ways. Okay. So hopefully this helped you. Whatever you do, stop buffering. Okay. Like, you do not have to stay there. You do not have to continue to force and to push and to make that your life. You can actually close some tabs. Okay. You can give yourself grace. You can work some self-care into power pockets of time. Yes, you can. You can give yourself permission to do what it is that you need to stop all the pleasing, okay? To stop living externally and be fueled from within. That is where your power is, okay? And again, that's a blessing to other people. And it actually teaches them how to be healthy, how to be whole, how to be powerful also, okay? Our power isn't always just in pleasing people. That's something that can change all the time. Our power is in our alignments. All right? Okay, guys, I hope this message blessed you. If it did, make sure that you like, comment, again, subscribe if you haven't. I will also drop information below for ways that you can connect with me, whether that be coaching, whether that be through a course or different books. There's a lot of tools to help you on that inner work journey. All right, guys, until next time, stay blessed.